If you've driven past this building this week, I hope you've noticed that it had a new sign out there. It did say Ford's Theater. And so we're going to take a step back in time and let President Lincoln tell you the story of this play.
A few days ago, I was down at City Point, and I was conferring with General Grant. General Sherman was there, and Admiral Porter. They said, "Mr. President, this war will be over soon if we press." I said, "Well, press by all means." I want the surrender of the Confederate Army to be brought about just as rapidly and with least bloodshed as possible. Let them up easy. Once these men surrender, they'll go home. They won't fight again. I want no one punished. Be easy with them. Let them take their horses and their mules home. Let the officers take the guns so they can plant corn and shoot crows. I want submission and no punishment. This past Sunday, news came from Appomattox Courthouse that Lee had surrendered his gallant army to General Grant. The war is over. Well, they tell me there's a little fighting down in Carolina, but they assure me that'll be over soon. This bloody war is finally over. Thousands, hundreds of people, both blue and gray, left on the battlefield, widows all over the country. People are crying for vengeance. Haven't we had enough misery? What I deal with here is too vast for vengeance. I suppose the best way is to get on about it is to pretend they never left in the first place. If they're safely back home, and it's utterly irrelevant that they not be considered back home. What I deal with here is too vast for vengeance. I have not suffered with the South. I have not suffered by the South. I've suffered with the South. What they have lost, I have lost. Their gains have been my gains. Their sorrow, my sorrow. You know, this afternoon, Mary and I went for a nice, quiet ride. I told her, "You and I must be more cheerful, Mary. This terrible war and the loss of our dear darling Willie have made us all too miserable. When this war is over, and it's over now, I'm going home. We'll go home in Chicago or Springfield, and we'll live in peace and tranquility there." You know, I found myself recently going to the scripture. I would turn almost always to the story of the prodigal son. I like that story. And as the father saw the prodigal son coming from afar, he rushed to him. He put the cloak around his shoulders, put a ring on his finger, and he welcomed him home as if he had never left. I'm going to do that to this present situation. Like the New Testament father, I'm going to rush out to these people. I'm going to put the cloak of brotherhood upon their shoulders, and I'm going to welcome home, equal to their brothers in all ways. I told Mary of a dream that I had a few nights before, that I had awakened from a deep slumber, that I had heard mourning and weeping in the White House. I went from room to room. I saw nothing until I came to the East Room. And there in the center of that great room was a catafalque guarded by a group of soldiers with a great throng of people gathered around. I walked up to one of the soldiers and I said, "Well, who is dead in the White House?" They say, "Why? Why, it's the president. He's been assassinated." This disturbed Mary quite much. I said, "Mary, I don't think I've ever accomplished anything in life without God's help. And if it's His will I be assassinated, I must resign. I'm going to do my work. I've got so much to do. I'm going to let God take care of the assassin. The things of the past have made me so tired, so very tired. So I think for now I'll just relax and go to the theater, see a great performance.
To prescribe her, Lord Dunbury. What? Has Lord Dunder been prescribing for Georgina?
Yes, you see, I gave her a draft that killed the effects of a draft, and that draft was a draft that didn't pay the doctor's bill. So that's baptized Ace Trenton.
Ah, then it is our American cousin. Glad to see you. My brother told us to expect you.
Don't know the man's good society, eh? Well, I reckon I know enough to turn you inside out, old gal. You stop dogalizing the old man trap.
Well, I'm sure that came as quite a surprise, but I'm wondering, were you more surprised that someone ran down to the front of the theater and shot off a gun, or that I got up and brushed it off? I do remember it slightly differently, though. It was April 14th, a few days after General Lee's surrender. I got to rest in the hope of restoring this great nation, to heal the wounds of such a great conflagration that tore apart the very soul of our nation. My wife, Mary, did not feel well that night, and General Grant had declined from going to the theater, but I needed a laugh. I needed to step out from underneath the weight that was so heavy upon me. So Mary put aside her discomfort and her fears, for many feared secret assassins. But I knew that a guard would be posted, and I was determined. So we were here at Ford's Theater. The booth's door was not locked, which I did not know, and the guard had deserted his post. Needing a drink, he stepped across the street. It was then that Mr. Booth seized his opportunity. He stepped up behind me and shot me. Right back here behind the left ear. Needless to say, there was much confusion and grief. They carried me across the street to the Peterson house. I was too tall for the bed, so they had to lay me on it diagonally. At least 6 surgeons attended to me, but the end was apparent from the beginning. My wife, my son, and several cabinet members waited with me for my last breath. There were so many people, so many mourners out in the street that they had to post more guards at my room to keep the people out than they had posted at the theater for my protection. It was 22 minutes past 7, the morning after the play, that I gave up my hope of restoring this great nation. And I passed it on to the hands that were destined to follow me. And I can see that they were good hands, for here you are in this fine theater, in a nation that has come together as one. And now, since the nation is in one piece, and I have no other pressing appointments, I would like to take this time to see how this play ended. I have questions about Asa and Dunbury. So if these fine actors and actresses can recompose themselves, and if General Lee and my mortal self would allow, I'd like to come and sit and see the end of the play. I've heard great things about it.
never really told me what was going to happen to Abraham Lincoln, but they said that something was going on. And it surprised me. All I saw was I heard footsteps, couldn't really see because of the lights, but I heard footsteps running, and then I saw it when I turned the lights on, and it just spooked me. I was like, I don't know what I should do. They never told me anything. And I was just trying to stay out of the way. I was trying to act scared, wasn't sure how to act about it.
It's been terrible having to keep a secret because I know what's going to happen, but it was really enjoyable to do.
But you didn't have a chance to rehearse it.
No, we did not have a chance to rehearse it, so it was completely done off the cuff.
You had to figure out how to jump. And
that's right.
How did that go?
It was great. It went really well. I knew ahead of time what I was working with, but it was a matter of executing. And I think it was genuine. I think it was off the cuff, and I think it's exactly what everyone was looking for.
Was Tad clued into this?
Tad was clued in. He did know, so that him and his wife would not spring up out of their chair and panic.
I believe we had about a 1 hour, about 45-minute rehearsal last night.
By yourself?
Yes, we were in here and got to do it one time, and then. But that was pretty much the way it went. So.
This was a last-minute thing for me. So when I heard that gunshot, I just was like reliving history in first person here.
She thought I was a goner for sure. We didn't know really what the whole thing was going to be about. We knew it was going to be a surprise, and I was ready for the shock, and I was told kind of how to act, but we were in for it. But yeah, I thought it was done very well. In fact, it was excellent. We had the best seats in the house, if you noticed.